stablecoins really a threat to XRP like some trying to inform you guys? Or is it friendly? IMF suggests eventually we will pay for our everyday items using this technology, newer technologies. IMF points out innovation will transform the landscape of money and you can bet your bottom dollar on it. And I repeat, you can bet your bottom dollar for this innovation. That's coming from IMF. So that should be a huge investment direction coming for decades. And at the same time, as investors in XRP, you may ask, okay, where are we going, right? Are we going to different places like $2, $20, $120, etc.? Details for all of this is coming next. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. We showed you a chart of Omisigo last day, which popped out, right? That really popped out when the market was actually going to the opposite direction. Now in my Patreon group, we were actually able to point out another asset which just popped out. Now when the entire assets were actually moving to the downside, it's like if you want to trade the market, you should be on to the right coin. And you should, to get the right information, you should be at the right place and at the right time. Now, in the Patreon link, we were actually discussing about Cosmos, and I shared this chart. If you can see here, it was created back in 21, and now it just popped out. And there are still opportunities out there in small cap coins. You just have to be with the right guy at the right time just before these assets pops out. So if you see value in the content being provided here in the Scientific Investor channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you would like to extend your technical support for your portfolio and to discuss about your assets which you have in your portfolio, you can contact me via the Patreon link in the description below. If you would like to extend your support for the channel, you can use the Patreon, PayPal and the XRP wallet address given in the description below. So now just let's jump into the news updates and how these are actually going to turn out. Now, the first question is about stable coins, right? Stable coins like USDC, PAX, Tether and all are there, right? We agree that. Say here they mentions about a USD coin, Paxos and True USD. Now, whenever you look at a stable coin, you have to understand it is completely backed by the reserves. It should be holding that as a reserves, and that usually used to be in one currency, say dollar. If it is USD coin, it is being backed by United States dollar. So if they have that reserves in their account, or even with a central bank, it can be considered as a central bank digital currency, blah blah blah, like a synthetic one. But the key takeaway there is like, if that currency is being affected, you can actually look around the globe, emerging market and everywhere. Just look at the United States itself. In the last couple of weeks, dollar were actually going to the downside, right? So keeping that in mind, when a fiat currency is being affected, the stable coin will also be affected. So as we come down to the bottom here, they actually talk about Ripple in a sense that it is making, cases like say for international payments. Ripple has positioned itself as a high-speed, low-cost, blockchain-powered alternative to existing payment networks with its flagship RippleNet product. Now, the company's initial focus was on bank payments, but now it has actually expanded its reach, the global payments, blah, 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 everywhere it is there. Now, the target area or the motivation kind of seems similar to that of the USDC, which is from the circle, right? But if you actually look at nations like China, Russia, and others who just want to ditch dollar, they won't be using this. Instead, they would be looking for a neutral asset. If they are looking for a neutral asset, which has to be scalable, everything related to XRP and the payment space, it should be big enough to hold those payments. Now, yes, when we are entering into central bank digital currency steps, previously we are actually looking at how we can improve the payments area. Now, when we talk about the payments area, you have to understand global payments market is going to be huge. From where it is now, it is going to $2 trillion by the end of 2025. Now, if you remember, the market maturity target for Ripple was 2025. And when this is being said, $2 trillion, if you look at this just one region, which is Asia Pacific region, that is kind of 900 billion, just more than 900 billion. So it's like more than half of that as of now is in Asia Pacific corridor. Now, looking at the global payments, international payments, and in which currencies it's being designated, you can understand why United States dollar is so important. Being the reserve currency of the world, it is really important to have that regulatory clarity from United States to push that adoption to the other side. But remember, as it is being said, if you are just looking at one of the area of payments market, as Joel Katz or David Schwartz is highlighting here, looking at high friction international payments, it can take us to $20. And Ripple, if Ripple is being able to catch increasing volume of international payments, then yeah, the price can be around $120. So that is directly from him, right? So when we actually talk about that, consider this. Ripple is expanding. Now, they are currently working on launching the on-demand liquidity in Japan. For what they are doing that, they are going to do that to focus on remittance towards the countries like Vietnam and Philippines. Now, that being said, they are also working on demand liquidity corridor towards India. Now, that's also a huge remittance corridor considering the total value in United States dollar as of now. So, connecting this, you can understand when we look at the entire market, more than half is in this region, and Ripple is going to be the standard in this area. Say, if Japan, as one of the advanced economy in the Asia and the Asia Pacific region, if they are adopting this, they are making this as a standard, which is the ILP. If they are jumping onto that one and making it a standard and using XRP via XRP ledger, that is going to be adopted by many of its followers. Similarly, in the other region, we can look at the United States. If they are able to come up with proper regulatory clarity, that would actually allow them to get more value. Say China is not now this is using SWIFT. So if you look at Chinese, you can see it's only 1.22% going through SWIFT. So as of now, they are not using SWIFT, right? Or if you are looking at the conversion rate connecting USD being the reserve and all, you can still see others are minimal on this one, which is SWIFT. So as the correspondent banking networks are going down, fintechs are coming in, there are opportunities outside of SWIFT. Now, when they look at opportunities outside SWIFT, they would be concentrating more on what? Things which will give them more efficiency and more benefits. This from Deloitte shows you there are options like Bitcoin and others, but the ledger mechanism, permission ledger mechanisms providing like Ripple and XRP in permission ledger environments are something which has to be considered. They're actually comparing it with Bitcoin and others with XRP. So Ripple's XRP is being considered in the banking sector in a way that we are not considering it. Now, if you've been in this space from a long time, you would already understand that fintech is going places. Now, if you look at this particular tweet from Theo, you can understand that embedded finance, intelligent solutions, marketplace, ecosystem orchestration. Now, when you look at this platform economics, first thing, plug and play technology. Yes, we can actually see that. If you look at that now, even your browsers can be used to plug in your wallets. We are entering digital and tokenized economy, and you can plug in apps into your browser itself. It's easy to pay, right? Then own plus third-party elements. You can see that in the payment space itself in the entire financial institution, right? The new infrastructure is being laid out in such a way that every financial players will be connected in one basic foundation, which would be connecting it with their own central banks. So it will be easy for the governments and the central banks to look at the regulatory issues, the clarity and the frauds and all, and at the same time oversee everything happening in that area. Now, it should be programmable, it should be the artificial intelligence centric and other thing, which all we can actually see in DLT and blockchain technology. Now, as we enter into this particular ecosystem, first what we need is the entire infrastructure to be familiar. And familiar means the moms and pops or the common man should be aware of this. And this tweet from Barry shows us how they are trying to push Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies into the public domain. Now they are putting it in newspapers, they are putting it in television, they are trying to advertise it in a manner that they'll get more adoption in terms of at least in investment. Because if you're considering Bitcoin as a payment mechanism, it won't be working much considering the payment time taken, or at least the fees used for that one. So automatically that won't be working well, but it is being showcased as a investment. Here it is written, in uncertain times Bitcoin is a hedge. Now that kind of depends. If you have proper financial education, you can understand, yes, it can be a store of value, as it doesn't actually matter you agree or I agree with that perspective. But if the majority who are investing in Bitcoin, if they are agreeing with that is a store of value, then it is a store of value for them, and they would be continuing to believe that, like United States dollar, it's a depreciating asset, but majority thinks that it is a store of value, and that's the greenback status. So automatically, whenever there is an issue around the globe, people tend to go into gold, silver, dollar and all. But once that ideology falls apart, they're going to enter into this new technology and the store of value. Now this is a store of value. Now that's just my opinion. This is a store of value just for being the store of value, instead of providing different use cases. Now yes, it came out with a lot of use cases, but it actually failed. In my perspective, it actually failed to implement all of those. If you are just considering payment space, it's never there for Bitcoin. It's never going to be there. And in this particular tweet, in reply to that from XRP Yoda, shows this one: Ripple in talks with NPCI, banks for account transfers globally. Now, the Times Group actually put this out, showing Google-backed payment company Ripple in talks with banks in India. Now, when they actually show that, Google is kind of a well-established and reputed name, which is kind of accepted and respected all around the globe. Now, yeah, it is debatable based on the privacy issues and all, but at least as a company, business, investment, they are well reputed. Now, when it is being highlighted that it is a company backed by Google and shows how it works, say unlike Swift, it's a messaging platform which can do the messaging and settlement. Now, Axis Bank, Yes Bank are on board. Now that is a previous article, and if you look now, you have other banks in the pipeline with Ripple and being in the production stage for RippleNet. Now, when you look at that in India, you can understand the remittance is coming mainly from Middle East, say Saudi, UAE, Qatar, and other nations in that region. So here it's being highlighted that they are looking at efficient remittance service to the Gulf countries. So they are looking at National Bank of Abu Dhabi, UAE and Saudi being giant in this particular cluster. So that kind of highlights, if you are looking at this as just investment, it's cool. But if you are looking at the use case, it's not going to work in that way. Instead, it would be working in this way. Now, yes, we have to agree that it is financial side, banks, governments, it will take time, but the adoption is reaching at a stage where even central banks are highlighting digital currencies on their balance sheet. Now that's the next level of adoption, being a central bank. They are showcasing that in their balance sheet, tells different things. If you're looking at it on a regulatory clarity side, you can understand soon this would be reflected in different nations, and as it is being implemented all over the world, at least slowly, or at least consider 10-20% of central banks coming in like this, that would be cool. Say, what if 40 to 50 central banks who are already in pipelines or talks with Ripple comes out and take action like this? At least 4 or 5, 10% of them do this. It's going to be having that flywheel effect. It's going to be that snowball effect which we all waiting for. Now that's kind of the technical side of it, right? If you would like to actually gain more information for global payment and settlement system, I would actually recommend you read this particular book. Now the entire book is too long, but this is just the first page of this particular chapter here, which is the chapter 46. If you just type in global payment and settlement by B. Jiva, you can actually get this one. I'll actually link this in the description, so you can actually get that. Now if you look, this is the handbook of key global financial market, so it gives a bit more clarity about how the payments market actually work. Now that's for that side, right? Now, when we look at the technical side, it's kind of boring. Yeah, I agree, it's kind of boring because we are still range bound. This is a 4-hour chart, and now we can understand from this particular time towards this, it's like 21 days we are still range bound. We are still moving in that particular range. We are not actually doing anything crazy, right? But keep this in your mind, we are still at the support area. If we are making a break to the downside, that's kind of negative symbol for that time. But if it is just a fake out, that may take in more sellers and then push the price to the upside, taking their stop losses. So just beware. You don't want to be that guy who enter into those fake out and lose your money within, say, a matter of hours. So you have to actually understand the support and resistance. Now that's on a shorter time frame. That's 4 hour, right? If you zoom out and look at it on a 3-day, daily, or a weekly, you can understand it is still in a flag position. Now, yes, I agree, it is making a double top, but unless it is breaking to the downside, confirming that it is not valid. But keep an eye, it is bouncing from this support area. If it is still managing to bounce and getting above 0.29, that means it may take to the upside. But looking at this particular pattern here, say this a red candle followed by a green wick and a red candle, it shows there is a bearish momentum. So if we are breaking to the downside here, and if you are trading this market, you should be considering to exit that position if you are just entered it here. But if you are someone who is accumulating from the bottom, that should be cool for you. Now when we talk generally about XRP and the altcoin market cap, using chart of Ethereum gives us a bit more clarity where we are headed and all. Now we previously discussed about Ethereum and we understood that it just went above the accumulation zone and it is still waiting at that particular area. Now those who understand Wyckoff pattern would be familiar with this. If you look at this as an accumulation zone, the price should be getting above that, then consolidating at that particular area for some time above the accumulation area, retesting that area for a couple of times, and then bursting to the upside. Usually that happens. If you check Wyckoff chart in Google, you can actually understand how that turns out, or else we can just type it Wyckoff chart for accumulation and we just go to Google Images, or at least we can see that here. Say this is the chart which I'm talking about. If you look at the accumulation zone here, what you can really understand is the price just dips, makes that spring, and then slowly move to the upside, retesting other areas, and then breaks above the previous resistance zone. And once that is reached above the previous resistance zone, it kind of flirts with that resistance support area for a long time, or the time depends on the fundamentals as well. As the investors come in, it push upside, that's a different story. But looking at that phase D, what you can see is it should be above the previous resistance level for that accumulation zone, and then consolidate there for some time and then burst to the upside. So now if you come back and look at Ethereum chart, say you put that into a 3-day or a weekly, depends upon how you look at the chart. But for me, this looks clear. This looks kind of clear that the price just went above that particular resistance area. Now if you look at that particular zone, the price was being in that zone or just below that zone from 950 days. It was a support previously, then it broke into that. Now if you just look at when the price entered into that region, it's still 760 days. So from last 760 days, something just changed and it is still managing that change. That is something huge for the entire altcoins when we look at Ethereum. So guys, that's all for today, and if you saw value in the content, do support the channel, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do consider subscribing. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.